Apparently, Project Home flushes their plumbing system every morning that I've noticed anyway, somewhere between 4:30 and 5:30 a.m. approximately. That's when I've noticed it. I'm not up every day that early in the morning, but that is when I have noticed it on the days that I am up that early or up that late, as the case may be. When they flush their system, the gunk, the scum, the dirt, the food particles, the rat feces, the mouse feces, the insects, all that stuff, whatever is in there exactly, all the germs, all the bacteria, everything that's in there, it gets flushed through the plumbing and it ends up, some of it ends up coming up through the drain in my sink. And as you can tell, this plastic arm from the inside of my freezer, which needed to be cleaned, and I put it in the sink and let it soak in some water. Well, I've tried to wash it off many times over the past few days, trying to let it sit in soapy water overnight. And not only does the gunk, the scum, become ingrained into the plastic of this thing, it's completely pointless to let it sit in the sink overnight because it just becomes resaturated in the scum that shows up in the sink the next morning anyway. That following morning, you just got more of the same filth and scum coming up through the drain of the sink and just completely destroying any attempt to legitimately clean something like this piece of plastic right here. It just gets resaturated in the dirt and the scum that shows up in the sink the next morning. It's completely pointless. It is completely worthless. And Project Home enforces a policy upon each resident that lives within one of its buildings. They enforce a policy onto all of their tenants of cleanliness. You have to maintain a minimum degree of cleanliness in the kitchen, in the bathroom, on the floors, throughout the whole apartment, etc. You have to do that. Well, why do they make it that much more difficult to do that? Such as in the kitchen area, such as in the sink. Oh, by the way, when the sink fills up with water, carrying this sludge and slime and gunk and scum, it makes its way up onto the counter. You can see the stains. You can also see the wetness as it drips off the kitchen counter into the trunk drawer. You can see the water. You can see everything that's made of paper that it becomes saturated and quite effectively useless. It's really pathetic. Anything that's in the drawer, anything that's on the counter, becomes saturated. This box right here, which I used for odds and ends, this thing, it's effectively useless. There's no point in doing anything with it. It carries dirt, carries scum. that dries out up on to the top of the stove. So all kinds of dirt and scum and germs, sludge, all kinds of dirtiness and filthiness just gets brought up onto the kitchen counter, onto the oven, anything that's made of paper, anything that's made of paper at all. It just is effectively destroyed. Or maybe not completely destroyed, but made very literally worthless. This is what Project Home does to its tenants. Now, why do they have this policy? Why do they have this practice? I'm not sure. I can speculate, I can partake in conjecture, I can go in that direction. But I don't have all the answers. I would like to know why they do this. But right now I don't really have enough information about exactly how they do it all and why they do it all to really go off in a kind of direction I feel is appropriate with conjecture and speculation. It's disgusting that they treat their tenants in this way and that they leave this sludge in the kitchen sink for the tenant to have to deal with when they get home from work or school at the end of the day, or at the end of however long their day is. The fact that I have to deal with this is reprehensible. It's absolutely disgusting. And there's no telling the exact number, the exact kind, the exact type of germs and bacteria that are contained within this filth that they try to filter from their pipes. Essentially, they're saying, we don't want this here, we're giving it to you. I would like to bring this to the attention of Project Home, but there's a part of me that believes that what would be the point in doing that, since they would probably just make every effort to sweep it under the rug and act like there's nothing wrong with this, we do it all the time, we've been doing it for however long, and you never complained before. They'd come up with excuses. They'd come up with justifications for why this is okay. Does anybody want to come home at the end of the day and see this in their sink? Does anybody want to find this waiting for them when they get home from work or school? When you're tired and you just want to eat something and then relax, go to bed, do you really want to have to deal with this first? It is disgustingly irreprehensible that Project Home treats any of their tenants, even if I'm the only one and I don't know that. But it is disgustingly irreprehensible that they would ever treat anyone this way, even if it is just one tenant. And why would it only be me and me alone? I don't know. That wall, with all the stains on it, I've cleaned that wall many times. This wall, as well as this wall. I've wiped it down, I've used bleach, I've used rubbing alcohol, I've used all kinds of cleaners, ammonia D, with bleach, etc. It makes no sense. They just continue to do it. I really don't want to guess why they do this. But it is disgusting, and it is vulgar and repulsive and repugnant. Not just this, but the behavior that would allow them to put this into the sinks of their tenants and then act like there's apparently nothing wrong with doing that. Especially when it flows up onto the kitchen counter and goes into the drawers. It makes its way down into the lower cabinets as well. It makes its way down, and it makes a puddle in the lids of containers where food can definitely spoil. See that? That's disgusting.